there are schemes of the central government, Ujjwala, for example, where you give gas cylinders, I think 2 gas cylinders to women women folks of the household. Whether it is opening Jandan accounts, whether it is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where some amount of money is given to build a home, or even for that matter, the Kisan Samman Nidhi, which was a big hit before the 2019 elections, where you give 6,000 rupees over a year to farmers. All of this can also be characterized as freebies by the opposition parties. They are saying that, if the central government decides that हमारा scheme welfare scheme है और बाकी सबों का scheme freebies है, that's not fair.
Thank you for putting these facts in front of the people, and let me answer one by one. First, let me respond to what Mr. Marathe said, that there is no payment due from the Delhi state government. Let me tell you, Discom of Delhi, electricity, today itself LG has asked for a detailed inquiry from the state bureaucracy. What happened to why there is a payment due of 21,250 crore rupees from the Discom of Delhi. Delhiites, be aware, any day your electricity can go, because Aam Aadmi party has chosen not to pay 21,250 crore rupees to the power supplying parties. And who is the director appointed by them? Some Mr. Naveen Gupta, who is son of member of parliament of Aam Aadmi party. And this is the same company where Anil Ambani holds major shares. So they were cursing Anil Ambani till now. They have somebody been planted by themselves, and they have denied, they have blocked. In fact, the blame is they have deliberately blocked direct benefit transfer to the beneficiaries, so that people may not know who are the beneficiaries. The money would go to Discom. Can Akshay Marathe comment on that? One. Number two, Delhi Jal Board, how many 1,000 crore rupees loan is pending, and they are not paying this for years, and will there be challenges for supply of water? Please let me know. Number three, education, which is must in the city. Let me tell you, 745 schools out of 1,027, around 70% of the schools don't have principal. पगार नहीं है प्रिंसिपल का, इसके लिए प्रिंसिपल को अपॉइंट नहीं किया. And let me give you one more figures. Academic year 17-18, 1,55,436 students failed, out of which only 52,000 students were readmitted. 1,02,000 students were thrown out of Delhi school board. If it is not correct, let Akshay Marathe file a case against me. This is because they did not have sufficient fund. Let me give you 2-3 more examples. Whether it is DTC, which is going to dogs.
Zaka, let me respond.
Let him finish. I'll come to you, Akshay.
It is public. So, I'll Akshay, Mr. Akshay, these figures are there, and you know why there are cases been going on. So what they had to do is, when they promised, they went on promising things, they wanted money for that promise, as well as they wanted money for their corruption. So they pumped in liquor, and they started getting. So when you throw freebies without thinking this thing, then there is something element of corruption comes in your mind, where you think that why not do one thing, give freebies so that I keep getting votes, and I also make money for myself. And then what you do is, you tie up with a cartel of liquor barons, and then they say, let people drink, let people drop out of the schools, let there be a desperation. They are not giving ration cards because it's a scheme from central government, but at the same time they are trying to push liquor shops in every ward.
No, that particular excise policy has been cancelled, and I believe
now let me answer your question. Let me now answer your question. Let me now answer your question.
Mr. Goenka, yield please. Akshay Marathe, respond, whether it's Delhi Jal Board,
whether
it's the
you in 30 seconds,
Delhi
and then
electricity bills that you owe the power generating and the distribution companies. Where is all that money? You can't say Delhi government is surplus,
when I'm talking to you, is
but not pay these suppliers.
Zaka,
let him now respond. Yeah, Akshay Marathe.
Point by point. Point number one is, Zaka, you mentioned in your debate earlier that only 6% of India is tax-paying citizens, and everybody else is getting money out of those 6%.
Mr. Marathe,
that is
aren't you
absolutely
supposed
false.
to pay 21,000?
100%.
Sir, you asked a question. Let him answer. No cross-talk, please. Thank you. No cross-talk. Thank you, sir. No cross-talk. Akshay, yeah.
100% of India pays taxes in the form of indirect taxes, and I was just looking up the numbers while the debate was going on, Zaka. As much tax collection is done through indirect taxation, through GST, etc., as is done through direct taxes. So it's not fair to say that only 6% of people are paying for everybody else. Everybody pays taxes, and everybody gets the benefits out of those taxes. Now, point number two. Everybody on this panel has been saying that free electricity for everybody is a bad free. Let me explain. It's very important for everyone to understand that in Delhi, only up to 200 units of power is free. If you consume even 1 unit more than that, it does not qualify you for free power, and you have to pay the full bill. This is one of the best models of subsidies that Mr. Kejriwal has come up with, which hyper targets those who are in need of free power And when you give that free power to the poor in Delhi, they have that additional money to spend on other parts of the economy. They can spend it on their child's education. They can spend it on, buying more milk for their children. So it is not as if this money is going into thin air. It is being invested in people so that they are empowered to use their financial resources in a way
Okay, but
that
Akshay,
actually
please answer also the questions that
and the
were
economy.
asked. I mean, what about the discoms who are owed money? What about the Delhi Jal Board that it's owed
You know,
money?
yeah.
What about
No, no,
all of that?
I'm coming to it. Now, to answer your questions
No
about the
principal in
discoms,
schools.
when he says that Anil Ambani is
22,000
getting
teachers
the
to be
money,
appointed.
but who is Anil Ambani? Anil Ambani is the person who runs the Delhi private distribution companies, which Aam Aadmi Party is not involved in Delhi. For 20 years, Mr. Anil Ambani has been running these companies. So when the AAP government gives a subsidy to the power distribution companies to give free power, obviously it will go to the distribution companies. Should we give it to the BJP? Like how it used to happen in the past, that the Sarkari taxpayer money would go straight into the hands of the Bharatiya Janata Party. That's not what we want to do. Now, to answer the question of the Delhi Jal Board. The Delhi Jal Board is directly and fully owned by the Delhi government. The loan that Delhi Jal Board has is from the Delhi government itself. So Delhi government is empowered to say that it's okay, you don't have to pay because it is doing the job of the government. This is not a private company that has been given a loan and we are not recovering it. The BJP is so intellectually and morally bankrupt that it doesn't understand these things of how governments function. When it comes to the DTC, let me explain to you. The number of buses of DTC may have come down, but there is another public transport system in Delhi called the DIMTS. And the number of buses in that has substantially gone up in the last 7 years, which is why you don't feel the difference. The people of Delhi are having full public transportation today because the number of buses has not actually come down.
Okay.
Now to take the question, let me answer the final question of the principal, because this is something the BJP keeps saying in every debate. 700 principals of Delhi government schools have not been appointed because the job of appointing principals is with the Union Public Service Commission, not the Delhi government. We are actually, in a tough spot. We have the money to pay.
Incorrect.
We have been writing to UPSC.
Incorrect.
Please appoint
Please
principals.
go and
We
correct
have the
your
money to
basics.
pay their salaries. We have the money to pay their salaries, but the BJP's UPSC has not been appointing. Today, let me clarify though. This year, they actually did start appointing principals, and within the year, the appointment process will be complete. So the BJP will not have this point to make by the time you are back on this debate.
Sanjay Jha, I come back to what the election commission, of course, the Supreme Court has formed a high-level panel, and that panel will go into the merits and demerits of freebies versus welfare. But what the election commission has suggested today in this proposal paper that they have put out, which seems reasonably fair, that if you're going to make a promise, then also tell the people who you are promising, whatever it is that you're promising, that what it's going to cost them. Because ultimately, and I keep coming back to it, I disagree with what Akshay has said, that indirect taxes, yes, everybody pays for indirect taxes, but indirect taxes are a bad form of taxation. Governments should try and widen the ambit of direct tax payees, as it were. But what the panel is saying, what the Election Commission is saying is, make adequate disclosure of the financial impact for the promises that you have made. The disclosure be confined to the financial implication as well as the state's fiscal health, and also mention the financial resources required and the ways to finance the promise made. Election Commission is not saying that DMK cannot promise free color TVs. All it's saying is, please put in your manifesto, it's going to cost 6,000 crores, 10,000 crores, 50,000 crores, how much ever it's going to cost, and where you're going to raise that money from. That's a fair requirement. That's a fair demand.
Well, Zaka, the rule of economics is that there is no free lunch. Somebody has to pay for somebody else to get a gain. And I can tell you, during our conversation today, it's a very enlightening conversation from all sides. I'm glad that Mr. Marathe has kind of agreed with me here when I said earlier on your show that the regressive GST or any indirect tax is a sign of an economy that is not yet mature. In a mature economy, you actually have higher direct tax collections. Point number one. Point number two, why are we so squeamish and, uncomfortable in biting the bullet and saying, listen, you also need to tax the rich in this country. You also need to tax a corporate sector that, in my opinion, is accentuating inequalities. Let me give you two